Thank you all for being here this afternoon, for being part of this great movement. I appreciate that warm welcome. I want to begin by reminding everybody how it is we got to the point that was just discussed by Tony here on this platform a few moments ago. 10 years and 5 months ago, radical Islamic terrorists struck our nation, killing over 3,000 Americans. It was worse than Pearl Harbor. Since that terrible September day, more than 2.3 million of our countrymen have volunteered to serve in our military. Every single person in our armed forces today either came or stayed knowing they were going to go to war. Today we're here to pay tribute to those who protect and defend our way of life and celebrate that which our enemies seek to destroy, our nation's freedom. The men and women of our armed forces have a unique and difficult and certainly dangerous task that frequently puts them in harm's way. The classical definition of a hero isn't someone wearing a spandex suit and a cape. It's not the person who catches the pass in the end zone. It is a person who puts themselves at risk for the benefit of others. I have the best job in all television. I know Hannity thinks he does, but I do. My only beat for Fox News is soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, and Marines. I get to keep company with America's heroes. It was my privilege to serve with heroes in Vietnam, and I've never forgotten how those heroes were treated when they came home. What happened to those who served in Vietnam should never, ever happen again in America. In 2001, Fox News began sending me to document this new generation of warriors. Our War Stories cameras have now accompanied them in the shadows of the Hindu Kush, in the Philippines, the Persian Gulf, and along the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in Mesopotamia. What you're seeing on the screen are a few of the thousands of hours of footage that we've shot while spending time with these remarkable Americans who are at war. It is not a contingency operation. All of the young Americans you see on the screen are volunteers. All of them are high school graduates at minimum. The average age is 20 and a half, and the average education is 13 and a half years. It makes them the brightest, best educated, trained, led, and equipped military that the world has ever known. They can use their weapons like they're part of their bodies. They can use their bodies as weapons. They can take a life or save one with it because they are so remarkably well trained. Now the youngster who once wouldn't share a candy bar with his little brother will now give away his last drop of water to a wounded comrade, give his only ration to a hungry Afghan kid, and split his ammo with a mate in a firefight because he knows that will keep them alive. They have become the protectors of Muslim men and women, and certainly children, in a society that revered nothing of life. Most of them have spent 3 of the last 10 years deployed to some of the most remote and rugged and dangerous places on earth. The shots you see of them kneeling in prayer aren't staged. There's nothing made up about it. They know they're not going out on a football field. They're going into mortal combat against an enemy who intends to die in the process. And they are indeed remarkable Americans. This frame right here is taken from a shot I made on April 6, 2003, while I was embedded with the 5th Marine Regiment. In the middle of the screen, you see a United States Navy corpsman. That's corpsman, not corpsman. That Navy corpsman had rushed into the beaten zone between the Republican Guards unit and the Marine Rifle Company with which I was embedded, and he started pulling wounded fighters off the battlefield. The third one he pulled off is the one you see in this frame taken from my camera. He brings him off the battlefield. He puts battle dressings on him. He's grievously wounded, puts him over his back and carries him to the helicopter. And I'm now on the ramp of the helicopter. And off the screen to the right-hand side, as you look at the screen, I couldn't see it at the time, is another nation's news crew that set up their camera. And they've documented him carrying these wounded fighters off the field. As the helicopter takes off and the corpsman rushes back into the gunfight, the reporters from the other side and that other camera shouted out to him, "Hey, mate, what did you do that for? Didn't you notice that's an Iraqi?" If you look carefully at that photograph, you can see that the wounded fighter isn't an American Marine. It's an Iraqi Republican Guardsman. This corpsman has risked his own life to save the life of an enemy soldier. The corpsman does what he can only do in those kinds of circumstances. He gave a gesture to the Reuters news crew. You know, this is polite company. You're not supposed to get that part. He gave the gesture to the other news crew and he shouted back to them, "Didn't you notice he was wounded? That's what we do. We're Americans." "21 years ago, during Gulf War I, Lieutenant General Ed Bronars and I co-founded an organization called Freedom Alliance. Its purpose is to provide tangible support to those who serve our country in uniform. In other words, those American heroes. Today, as we gather here for CPAC, there are 83,000 American troops in Afghanistan, tens of thousands more in the Middle East, the Persian Gulf, the Indian Ocean, and then lonely outposts from the Balkans to the Korean Peninsula. Thousands of them will receive all year round gifts from home and care packages from Freedom Alliance throughout the year. Freedom Alliance is helping hurting heroes at military bases and hospitals with emergency financial assistance and by hosting events like our Hero Hunts and Hero Holidays for their families. And we're there to help when a soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine is killed or permanently disabled in the line of duty. The children of these American heroes face serious challenges, and so we created the Freedom Alliance Scholarship Fund to help the children of these heroes get a college education and to remind everybody who knows them that that parent who died or was disabled in the service of our country is indeed an American hero. Those are the kinds of things that we do, and thanks to the generosity of the American people, Freedom Alliance now has awarded over 5 million scholarships and has over 240 on scholarship at this very minute, some of whom are right here in this audience today. Unfortunately, many of America's youth learn about the military from the mainstream media and Hollywood, and much of what they learn is just plain wrong. At the NRA, an organization founded in 1871 by military veterans, we know that so much of that is erroneous and wrong. And so last year, the NRA started Life of Duty, an online network to ensure that America's military heroes receive the recognition they deserve. One of my privileges as the chairman of the NRA Board's Military and Veterans Affairs Committee is to present the CPAC American Heroes Award, sponsored by the NRA and ACU. The 212 American Heroes Award recipient is a combat-decorated U.S. Marine, currently studying for a bachelor's degree at American Military University. After graduating from high school in 2005, he enlisted in the Marine Corps knowing he was going to go to war. Following basic training and infantry school, he was designated a machine gunner and assigned to the 1st Battalion, 6th Marines. And in March, he deployed to Iraq. And in October 2006, he found Anbar province, Iraq, to be the bloodiest place on the planet. That's where I first met him, driving a Humvee, a key member of the battalion's QRF, the Quick Reaction Force. He was then a Lance Corporal, and he and his Marines spent 9 months engaged in deadly combat in and around bloody Ramadi, Iraq. If he wasn't as brave or as good as he is, I might not be here today. So for me, this award is personal. This remarkable young American, in the spring of 2008, just 11 months after returning to Camp Lejeune from Iraq, deployed again, this time to Helmand Province, Afghanistan, which succeeded Anbar province as the bloodiest place on the planet. And by then, our recipient had been meritoriously promoted to sergeant and was leading 25 Marines in the heavy weapons sections of Weapons Company, 1st Battalion, 6th Marines. On August 3rd, 2008, the patrol he was leading, with our Fox News team embedded, was hit by a Taliban IED, severely wounding our recipient and his driver, Lance Corporal Figueroa. When our recipient regained consciousness, his first concerns weren't about his own serious injuries, but about his men. He was evacuated to a field hospital in Afghanistan, where his burns were treated and his badly mangled left leg was amputated. After 2 years recuperating in the stateside hospitals, he was assigned as an instructor at the Marine Corps Martial Arts Center. Don't mess with him. Hand-to-hand combat is a specialty. In July of 2011, he was medically retired from the Marines. His combat awards include 2 Navy Achievement Medals, 1 with Combat V, 2 Combat Action Ribbons, 2 Sea Service Deployment Medals, the Good Conduct Medal, and the Purple Heart. Before our recipient joins us, please watch the screen and learn a little bit more about this real American hero. 3 August 2008, 2nd Platoon of Weapons Company, 1st Battalion, 6th Marines, commanded by Lieutenant John Branson, is on patrol near Garmsir, Afghanistan. Among them, Pennsylvania native Sergeant Courtney Rauch.
I grew up in a military family. Growing up with the Navy, around Navy base, and Marines being there, I decided that's what I wanted to do.
In the lead Humvee, Sergeant Rauch, the vehicle commander, and Corporals Donald, Wright, and Figueroa. Chris Jackson, our cameraman, was seated in the right rear behind Sergeant Rauch. An IED detonated directly beneath their Humvee.
We were driving along, approaching the village. We saw 3 men quickly walk away from the area. The sergeant called it in. He said, "Hold up, guys, there might be something happening." Then there was a huge boom.
The vehicle struck the device, but the vehicle, as it was designed, absorbed most of the impact.
Though wounded by the blast, Chris Jackson struggled back to the fiery wreck.
The cabin was on fire. I jumped out, went, grabbed the sergeant out of the shotgun seat, pulled him out.
Corporals Wright and Donald dragged Figueroa to safety as Jackson pulled Sergeant Rauch out of the flames and away from the exploding ordnance. Sergeant Courtney Rauch, badly wounded while we were with him in Afghanistan,
Then there was a huge boom. The cabin was on fire.
is also recovering from the loss of his left leg. We caught up with Sergeant Rauch and his wife Vanessa at Camp Lejeune.
I'm not even sure when they actually amputated the leg completely.
When he called me, I think he said there was something wrong with his left leg, but that was it.
I didn't tell her right away.
At first, it was really rough.
She basically dropped everything to take care of me. But she's been the greatest. I mean, nobody could ask for a better wife or better, just a friend in the world, you know, to be able to do that for you.
Do you remember anything of that IED going off?
I don't remember anything 2 hours prior to 2 hours after. It's like a complete blank slate. Last thing I remember was doing the pre-patrol report and then telling Chris and you that what trucks, respectively, you were going to be sending for the patrol.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming this year's recipient of our American Heroes Award, Sergeant Courtney Wayne Rauch, United States Marine Corps, retired. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you all made me blush. I just want to say thank you. Truly honored to be up here today to accept this award. As honored as I am, this doesn't alone belong to me, but specifically to them Marines you saw in that video. the ones that made me what I am today, all the soldiers, all the sailors, all the airmen of the United States Armed Forces, and of course, all the United States Marines. Hurrah! I'll make this quick because not really good public speaking, but just want to say thank you to Colonel North here, truly an inspiration to me, and a special thank you to my beautiful wife, Vanessa, and I promise I won't point her out, so without her, as you saw there, I wouldn't be standing here today. All of us injured Marines and all injured service members in general, without that, we all fall into a black hole at some point, depression and not knowing what to move forward or how to move forward. And without her by my side, holding my hand and forcing me to do that, I would still be in that hole. And I'm truly excited about what the future holds and not scared one bit because I know I have her by my side. So once again, thank you, Colonel North. Thank you to the NRA for this honorable award, and thank you to you all, and hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Just so you know, in addition to that beautiful eagle, I called Sergeant Rauch up and said he'd been selected as the recipient of the American Hero Award. What else would he like? Because he is an NRA member. And he said, I'd like a 1911 A1 45 caliber service pistol, and he will have one. Thank you all very much.